Welcome to the Galactic Archives, home of any and all information you may want or need. Today we'll be continuing our Multiverse series with the Unknown Timeline, which, of the 13 identifiable timelines, is the least used, having no identifiable content, and the only one that doesn't appear to include the original or prequel trilogies. First off, we'll start off with KOTOR 1, which, as I stated in the previous video, stands for Knights of the Old Republic. In this timeline, we're going to take the dark side ending of KOTOR 1, which allows the Starforge to survive. The Starforge being the incredibly powerful super weapon that creates ships, capital ships, out of nothing but the power of a star. And that will survive on this ending. However, when we go through to KOTOR 2, we destroy Malachor 5. So this takes a different route from the Disney canon timeline in that we destroy Malachor 5 instead of having it survive. This timeline therefore leads to the creation of Darth Nihilus through the wound of the Force created by the mass shadow generators of Revan's Republic that destroy Malachor 5. However, the Sith still have control of the most powerful superweapon in Star Wars history, that being the Starforge. Besides this information, we can assume that Nihilus was not defeated by Sauron and the Mandalorians due to the Starforge being in Sith possession and creating a massive fleet for him. Due to Nihilus being alive at this time, the Republican Jedi would have had to hunt down and restore Revan from the cryosleep that they put him under after Revan's Mandalorian Republic War. They would have to restore Revan from his cryosleep, leading to a confrontation between Revan and the triumvirate that formed around Nihilus, Darth Traya, and Darth Sion. And Revan may have been able to locate the Starforge, or he may not have. I mean, he was the original one to use it back when he was a Sith. But it is possible that the triumvirate may have relocated the Starforge so that it would not be destroyed in the future. The entire timeline would be messed up by this, seeing as Sion and the Triumvirate being alive and Nihilus not being destroyed and betrayed by Darth Traya. It's a very confusing thing to try and guess at what might happen down this timeline. But being as the Starforge is still available for use, the Triumvirate may not have imploded in upon itself with the two what are essentially brothers, Nihilus and Sion, not betraying Traya, leading to Traya, or Kreia as a Jedi, not betraying Nihilus, and so on and so forth, and a whole bunch of different things happening because the Triumvirate just couldn't agree on anything. But regardless of whether or not Traya and Nihilus betrayed and all the betrayal happens, we can assume that Palpatine and Plagueis and Tenebris even would not be trained as Sith, because Sion at the very least would have survived, knowing that there was more to work with, and the Sith fleets from the Starforge not allowing anything in to get to him, being Traya or the last of the Jedi who turned Sion and helped him realize that death is a natural part of things and he would need to die eventually. And regardless of whatever Sith Empire was remaining, they would still be fighting whatever remained of the Republic. The Jedi would still be warriors, not just Republic enforcers or keepers of the peace, as they said. If the Triumvirate did survive, it's possible that Nihilus could have eventually imploded out of hunger, not being able to get enough food to satiate his hunger, or the Force itself could work against him, both the dark side and the light side, the Ashla and Bogan, as they were called back by the Jedi Order in ancient times before the Sith and the Jedi. Eventually, Traya would have died, regardless of whatever happened, because she wasn't immortal. Sion, as assuming he wasn't led to give up his immortality, would still be alive even to the time where Palpatine would be alive. And the Sith have a powerful fleet from the Starforge and Sith droids to run the fleet. The Sith Empire could have lasted for thousands of years fighting the Republic. Darth Bane probably wouldn't have needed to implement the rule of two, even if he did become a Sith, because the Republic was still around in what would have been his day, and the Jedi and the Sith would have still had a common enemy. They wouldn't have just obliterated themselves. And all of this in the universe happening means that what holds the universe together would cause a divergence, meaning that the prequel and original trilogies don't exist. The whole timeline could have a host of strange people, places, weapons of war, and maybe the Kaminoans are employed long before Palpatine existed, Borvia not being abandoned, having clone troopers assist the Republic troopers of the ancient era. There's so much randomness that we can't account for with the Starforge surviving but Malachor 5 being destroyed. One of the Sith homeworlds not being destroyed means that perhaps they didn't go out to see what could happen. They didn't form Exegol, maybe, or they didn't return to Korriban, or Moraban if you'd rather that name for it, or the Jedi didn't get wiped out by the Triumvirate, even potentially. There's so much different stuff that could happen with just this simple change. There's no way of knowing what we could do. If anybody has any ideas, please let me know. If you have any issues with confirmed information from various timelines, if you want to have a discussion about what could happen in this timeline, if you have a request for a future video, any of these things, please let me know. I will gladly respond and hear from you. Please return anytime to the archives. It's always a pleasure to share our knowledge with you.